Hi, GM. This is part 2 of the Weekend Workshop series about how to make and keep money in crypto. So if you haven't watched part 1, make sure you do watch part 1, because everything I say here about this bull market and this recording in November of 2024, the 17th of November, very important because, of course, all of this can change. So make sure you've watched the first one, which is about long-term thinking and has nothing to do with this bull market cycle by itself, and is something that every single person who ever comes into my campus from here on forward should watch and should start to apply immediately, because it's the best way for you to make sure that you get and stay rich for the rest of your life. So that is key. You must focus first on the long term, which is yesterday's stream, which is the previous stream on this, before you start to think about the short term, which is what this is. This is looking at the next, let's call it 6 to 12 months. Okay, so how to crush the rest of this bull market? Depending on where you're at, and obviously when you watch this, you may be wondering, is it too late to get in? Have we already topped? Are we close to a top? Is it early or is it euphoric? I don't really know. It feels like it's too good to be true. Everything's going up, but I also kind of feel anxious. So I'm going to put all of that to rest with this stream, with this video. First of all, to begin to think about what's going to happen next, you have to go back and look at what's been happening previously, what is the current state of the market, and what is the best probabilistic bet to make. Because as a trader or investor, everything you do should be thinking about probabilities, not certainty. There is no certainty in markets. But there comes a time every 4 years, and it's been pretty consistent in crypto, where being delusional is actually the rational choice, which is part 1, or point number 1 of this presentation. And we're there at the moment. So what that means is, this is the time to embrace being a somewhat delusional bull, but doing so for the right reasons, rationally, and keeping it objective, which is, yes, definitely possible. And it all comes down to probabilistic thinking. So where we're at right now in the market is we're at a crossroads where people are wondering, is this a bull market? Is it not? How long do we have left? And essentially, this question: do you believe in the bull market? And 4-year cycle. Because that's what it all hinges around. At the moment, we are following exactly to schedule the classic crypto 4-year cycle, which states that in the year of the Bitcoin halving, which is 2012, 2016, 2020, and of course 2024, so every 4 years, in the year of the halving, Bitcoin's price rises, and then in the year post-halving, Bitcoin's price breaks out to all-time highs, goes much, much higher, and then tops. So we had a bullish 2012, we had a blow-off top, cycle top in 2013. We had a bullish 2016, we had a blow-off top, cycle top in 2017. We had a bullish 2020, and we had a blow-off top, or sort of momentum top, and a double top in 2021. We've had a bullish 2024, and you guess what happens next. So it's easy to psy up yourself out of the opportunity to make money by saying, it can't be that simple. Surely not. Surely it can't just go up again. Surely the 4-year cycle can't just repeat. Yes, it can, first of all. So there is a probability that it can. Okay? The fact that it's happened 3 times before doesn't mean it's going to happen a 4th time. But you have to weigh the risk and the reward of both being exposed, so having crypto and believing in the bull market, and the risks of not believing in it, and then make a calculated decision based on that. So let's just do some rough, very quick maths. If you don't believe in the bull market, if you don't believe in the 4-year cycle, if you believe this is all a trap, you're going to make no money. Because if you don't believe in it, then you shouldn't have any crypto, right? So you're going to make no money, or you're going to lose money. Because, of course, if you don't believe in it, you might try to short it. You might try to fucking fight the market, fight the trend. But hopefully, if anybody on this stream or watching this recording doesn't believe in the 4-year cycle, doesn't believe in the crypto bull market, believes it's all gone too crazy too soon, I hope that you just decide to have none, right? If you take away from this that you don't want to be long, that you don't believe in the bull market or whatever, that's fine. Please do not short, okay? Because at least, don't lose your money. So if you don't believe, you make zero. If you believe in the 4-year cycle that we've got about a year left, let's call it 6 to 12 months left, if you believe and you're correct, you could make 100% to maybe 1,000%. These are just rough numbers, but you can make exponential returns because the last year, which we're going into, the last 12 months of a bull market is the most violent in both directions. So it has the most shakeouts, it has the most dips, it has the most crashes, usually short and sharp crashes, but also it has the highest returns, the greatest magnitude of price appreciation. So the potential is there to make a lot more money than you could in any average year. And if you believe in this 4-year cycle and you're wrong, your maximum loss should be capped to something like 50%. Now that is extreme, right? I wouldn't say that you should even have to hold anything down 50% from here, because we're at a key point, if we're going into this second phase, where the market really should go higher, and on higher time frames, it should not make a lower low. So the first thing is I'm being super conservative with this and saying that if you believe that the 4-year cycle is going to play out, and then we go forward 12 months, right? We fast forward 12 months and it was all wrong and it was all a trap and it was all a psyop and it was all Larry Fink dumping on us and Donald Trump didn't do a Bitcoin reserve and all this kind of stuff, right? Let's just imagine the cycle breaks, it all doesn't play out, yeah? Then you're going to lose some money or you're going to underperform to some extent, right? I actually think that would be something more like, because if you're taking, I'm going to take Bitcoin out of this, we're going to say altcoins, right? So if you go to a high time frame and you look at a weekly chart, if the cycle is going into the second phase right now, it should not go below this level. And it certainly should not go below this level for any reason whatsoever. So if you're taking just an index of alts, even from right here, you're talking 27, let's call it 30%, up to 40%, okay? Because if you are getting long or you hold coins or you're buying here and you're saying that there's a cycle playing out and it's going to take the next 6 or 12 months, right? That takes us over to here in the end of 2025. It doesn't mean that it just goes like that, although it could. You know, the idea would be that hopefully it goes up and up and up and then we cool off and then it goes up and up and up again and that's the end of the cycle, right? That's the rough idea. It's not going to work exactly like that, but that's the rough idea. Therefore, if you have an idea, any thesis, okay, even the thesis of being a delusional bull, must first start with where am I wrong? And you do not want to wait for some opinion about the bull market being over. You want to base it on objective fact, which is the chart itself. And so if you're looking at the total altcoin market cap, if you see it going below this level, you can be pretty sure it's over, or that it's not going to play out the same way you would expect. And certainly if it goes below here, there's absolutely no reason why the 4-year cycle would be in play. Because we're reaching the point where this does not happen. We're reaching the point where we take off, whether we take off slow or take off fast. The end of the halving year is when things really get going for altcoins. And they don't go back far enough here. But the end of the halving year was over here, and from there, altcoins just went up. Okay? So, if you're going to believe in it, now is actually the time. Now is actually the perfect time. You might think it's too late, but from a 4-year cycle perspective, of course, the best time to buy was in 2022. And of course, the next best time to buy was in 2023. But going into the final part of the year, in the halving year, and going into the post-halving year is the best time to be long because that is when you have enough, based on a 4-year cycle, that's when there's enough time for the markets to go up so that people buy and they hold and they buy dips and they don't want to sell, because they can see long enough into the future, they can see many months of bullish markets, and you're not so late that you're running on fumes. If we, again, fast forward to June or August or September of next year and the market's still rising, that's going to be very, very late. So if you take that assumption and you understand it probabilistically, the belief you want to have, if I go back, I think it was the Apu chart, the belief that you want to have would be either I'm wrong and I lose some money, which is the same as any trade, okay? And again, this is not about you don't have to risk 50% of your whole portfolio. You can size it appropriately based on however much risk you want to take. But here's the thing. The rising tide will lift all boats, right? At the moment, we're going through a phase where money's flowing in to the market, prices are rising, and they're set to continue rising. The later you enter, the earlier you're going to have to exit. So adaptation matters here. And if the 4-year cycle is correct, this opportunity to make gains will not exist after next year for probably 3 years. This is what it's about, okay? If you're right that the 4-year cycle exists, then we have 1 more year left, and then we have multiple years of bad performance. So if you don't believe, and then it happens, you're going to miss out on the bull market, of course, and have all the FOMO that comes along with that. But also, it's not like you can just turn around and start to make loads of money in 2026 or 2027, because if we've already had that phase, the market's going to go into the opposite phase, which is distribution and selling and liquidations, and it goes down and it goes bear market, where there aren't opportunities to make money. So you're looking at it from a year over year basis. It's not saying, can I make 10x on some meme coin, or can I catch a quick pump? It's this particular year is probabilistically the year where the gains will come. And it's better to take the risk that you believe that will happen, because the downside is limited to much, much less than 100%, and the upside is potentially much, much more than 100%. Now, if this same thing was happening in 2022, after we'd come out of a bullish 2020 and a bullish 2021, to take this exact same bet made no sense, because we'd already seen those 2 full years of massive returns. So far in this cycle, we've seen 2 years of good returns. So 2023 was relatively strong for Bitcoin, but not really for alts. And 2024 is where we've started to really rise. So, at this point, we're coming out of a bearish market and a bearish phase. The crypto total market cap has been rising and consolidating for several months, right below its all-time high, which is very bullish. And it seems like, although we're a little bit away from the end of the month, it seems like we're going to close in on our highest ever monthly close, which would be a strong confirmation of bull market continuation. And most importantly, if you're going to adopt this view about being a delusional bull, but a smart one, so not a retard, then you have to understand all this bear market, bearish ideas, bearish stories, all the FUD you're going to see, all the macro noise about recessions and all this kind of stuff. For at least the next few months, that kind of stuff is going to be irrelevant. Not that you don't pay attention to it, but it should not allow you to abandon your original thesis as long as the charts themselves have not been disproven. There hasn't been invalidations. What that means is, because I remember all the way through, especially through 2020, okay? All the way through 2020, we had COVID. COVID happened, and then they turned on the money printers. So after this. And if you weren't around, you won't remember this. And if you're looking at this, you might think it's crazy to even imagine it. But people were bearish here and here and here and here, all of it. Because if you cast your mind back to 2020, we had the COVID crash, And then everyone was worried about the next leg down. But the Fed came out and said, no, we're going to print trillions of fucking dollars. And every other central bank said, we're going to copy them. And we're going to airdrop stimmy checks to everybody. And the catalyst of both being in the right year and with all the monetary stimulus was set up perfectly for markets to continue rising. It does not mean that there wasn't FUD. There was so much FUD. There was loads of bearish news. There was an actual literal recession. So the economy, the US economy, technically went into a recession in these 2 quarters because of the COVID crash. That led Q1 and Q2 into being negative GDP growth, which led to an official recession, which by the very next quarter was gone. But you have to understand that that meant people in July, August, September, October of 2020 were bearish because they said, there's no way this can keep going, it's a recession. So that was bearish FUD number 1 that was not relevant because the cycle took precedent over the bad news. Also, every time there was